What's up YouTube, it's JackalGoldKick, and in this video I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the WWE wrestling and what I think of it. So when it comes to WWE and wrestling, I actually used to be a fan of WWE and wrestling in general. At one point I was, especially as a kid. I was really into it, had a lot of wrestlers I liked. And, when I was a kid, that was when wrestling was really good, 90s. I was born, in 1999, but, the 90s stuff, a lot of the 2000s stuff, the stuff you would see from the 90s, I was in the 2000s, that was back when wrestling was good. That's when wrestling was worth a damn. And, I was into wrestling as a kid, and I liked wrestling when I was younger. As I got older, I would say around the age of 11 or 12, and I started to get older, I stopped, paying attention to wrestling. I wasn't really watching it as much. I got into other things. It wasn't that I, lost interest in wrestling or anything like that. It was just, I think I got into other things. I just got into other things, underground rap, creepypastas, that kind of thing, and kind of left wrestling behind. It wasn't like I lost interest in it or started to hate it. It's just, I don't know, when I was a kid, when I was getting older, I got into different things. So that's why I wasn't really paying attention to wrestling or WWE when I got older. But it was something that I was into as a kid, and I did like it, And, the age I am now, especially nowadays, I definitely have no interest, especially now, trying to get back into WWE or into wrestling of nowadays, at least, because from what I hear and from what most people say, wrestling is terrible nowadays. From what I've seen, wrestling is terrible nowadays. WWE sucks nowadays. And from what I saw, it does look pretty terrible nowadays, because you don't have any good characters, you don't have any good matches really, or good characters or people that stand out. Like back in the day, it seemed like wrestling was a lot more raw. It was a lot more in the PG-13 rated R territory. It was a lot cooler, a lot more memorable characters, a lot cooler characters, And I think it was also the aspect of feeling like it was real, because I think when I was a kid, much like Santa Claus, you're told Santa Claus is real. You think wrestling is real as a kid, and then you find out it's fake and shit. But, back then it seemed like it was a legit thing, especially with how they did it. It was a lot more PG-13 rated R. It wasn't, it wasn't lights. It had some, dark stuff to it. And, these people, even though it was fake, they would put their bodies through hell for entertainment, And when it comes to wrestling and WWE overall, like I said, it was something that I did like, and I did, follow at one point as a kid. Like I said, along the way, I would say the early 2010s, a little bit later than that, I just stopped following it, started to get into other things. It has nothing to do with me losing interest or not caring about it anymore. I got into other things. That's basically what happened. So I wasn't around for whatever happened with WWE and wrestling for the rest of those years. But, at the age I am now at 22, from everything I've heard and, hearing it here and there and seeing certain people talk about it, seeing clips and, things about wrestling as years went on, as I got into other things, from what I can tell, it got really bad. And I would say, like I said, wrestling, it seemed like it got really bad, and it seemed like it got really terrible, where it's just not really good anymore, and it's just not as good as it used to. That's why I'm definitely not going to try to get back into it, at least the new stuff, I haven't checked out a lot of the old stuff or watched old wrestling in a long time, but it was something I liked at one point. But I definitely have no interest in getting back into the new stuff and checking out what's going on now, because from what I hear, like I said, wrestling is really bad, and WWE shit is really bad now. And that's what I hear, is that it's just really terrible nowadays. And I'm going to assume bad characters, bad matches, things like that, just not really good characters, not really good wrestlers. I just hear so much bad shit about wrestling nowadays. And I want to steer clear from it, because if it's shit, why would I go towards it? It's the same thing with Walking Dead. I used to be a huge fan of The Walking Dead, but I eventually just had to stop watching that fucking show, because at one point I'm like, this show is not getting any fucking better. I need to stop watching it. I'm crazy for continuing to watch this show because it's getting shitty. So I stopped watching The Walking Dead, And that's why I'm not even going to look into the new wrestling stuff, because from what I heard, wrestling nowadays sucks. The WWE stuff sucks, So when it comes to wrestling, like I said, it was something I used to like and something I was a fan of as a kid. I did play some of the games. Haven't revisited it like that as an adult, but I do remember, fond things of it, at least when wrestling was good in the 90s and for that and some of the 2000s. And I would say, some of the wrestlers that I liked, that I could list, I liked Vader. He was a pretty cool wrestler. I liked Boogeyman, Hulk Hogan, Goldberg. Rey Mysterio was pretty cool. I liked him as well. I liked his mask a lot. He was a pretty cool wrestler as well. I remember X-Pac being pretty cool as well. I liked, Stone Cold. He was really cool. Goldberg, he was really cool. Definitely one of my favorites from I remember, Sting was pretty cool as well. If I remember when, when Kane had his mask, Kane was pretty cool. I also liked Mick Foley and the various characters he had. He was a pretty damn good wrestler, another one of my favorites. I would say another one of my favorites was definitely the Ultimate Warrior. The Ultimate Warrior was pretty damn cool. He was another cool wrestler. Rest in peace to the Ultimate Warrior. So, those are some of the wrestlers I liked, and those were some of my favorites. I'm sure there's more I could think of, like, Undertaker, of course, The Rock. I forgot about him, The Rock. He's another cool wrestler as well. Definitely another favorite of mine, The Rock. Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's a badass wrestler too. I can't remember what the group is, but there was like a wrestler. It was like a two-man wrestler group back in the day. It was like a black dude and a white guy. I can't remember their name, but they were pretty cool as well. I also kind of liked, I can't remember their name, but it was like Triple H, and I think it was Shawn Michaels. I think it was DX. They were kind of cool as well. I liked them as well. Triple H, I would say he was another favorite when he had his long hair, at least. He should have kept his long hair. Like Triple H nowadays, when I see him with his bald head, I'm like, dude, you don't look good with a bald head. You should have kept your long hair. Like, it just doesn't fit him. So I like Triple H back in the day when he had his long hair and when he was in that group with Shawn Michaels. So yeah, those were some other wrestlers I liked. And there was good matches out there and stuff, and it was something that I did like at one point. So yeah, that's really all I have to say in this video. These are just my thoughts on WWE and wrestling. Just wanted to make a video talking about WWE and talking about wrestling, and just giving opinions and thoughts on it, what I think of it. I haven't followed it in a very long time, and I probably won't look into the new stuff because all I hear is just bad shit. I have heard good stuff about this other one called AEW, but who knows how long until that goes from good to bad. And then other wrestling things like TNA, I heard that was good at one point, then it got shit. So it seems like WWE especially was good at one point, but then it just got really bad, So I like I said, WWE wrestling was something I liked at one point. I did have certain toys as well. Like I had a giant Sting toy, had I think the Ultimate Warrior as a toy at one point. So I had a few wrestler toys, so it was something I was into as a kid, and I definitely liked it, especially because, it was cool back then. Wrestling was actually cool back then. It was worth a shit, in the 90s and before, and especially some of the 2000s, wrestling was actually good because it was, it was a lot more entertaining. It was a lot more into the PG-13 rated R territory. There was better, wrestler characters, better storylines. Everything was just better. You had more memorable characters, more memorable wrestlers, more memorable characters. It was just better overall, compared to new wrestling, which doesn't seem to have that. I don't really, where is really any good wrestlers nowadays that you could compare to the legends of the old? It just seems like wrestling nowadays lacks a lot of good wrestlers. I'm going to assume, I'm not an expert on wrestling, sorry if this video sucks or it's not put together the best way. I'm not a, huge expert on wrestling. It's not something I'm a professional at like I am with, underground hip-hop and horror and creepypastas, but it was something I liked at one point, and and I just wanted to do a video talking about it, just because I thought it would be fun to make a video about this shit and, talk about some of the wrestlers I liked. I think some other wrestlers I liked, I'm trying to remember some of the other wrestlers I liked in WWE. Edge was pretty cool. That was another wrestler I liked. I remember liking Edge. I remember Edge being a pretty cool wrestler. He was another one I really liked. I also remember the Great Khali. I don't think he was someone I liked, but I do remember him. I remember a match he had with Rey Mysterio. That was a pretty good match. So yeah, those are my overall thoughts on WWE and wrestling in general. It's definitely something I did like, especially the old school shit, and I did have wrestlers I liked, and it was something I admired and was a fan of. I just haven't revisited it, new or old, in a very long time. I don't know what I would think of it nowadays. I haven't really veered back into wrestling because, like I said, I got into other things as I got older, but from what I can remember, wrestling was definitely something that was really cool and really dope at one point, and then it just got really, really shitty and really, really bad. I would say it probably got bad somewhere in the 2010s, because I remember when the last time I watched wrestling, it was like in the mid 2000s, late 2000s when I was watching wrestling. It was like decent around then, I think. It was alright, because you had people like Boogie Man. So I remember wrestling being good, I think, in the late 2000s, but I would say in the 2010s to now is where it really, really, really got bad, So yeah, that's really all I have to say overall about WWE and wrestling. Like I said, sorry if this wasn't the best kind of video, but, just wanted to make a video about wrestling itself and just talk about it. Like I said, I'm not a professional or an expert when it comes to wrestling. I don't know everything about it, but it was something I've had experience with, and it was something that I did like. Maybe one day I'll revisit the old wrestling stuff and see if I still like it and take a look back at it, but it was something I liked at one point. I just wanted to make a video talking about it because I know it's still people keep up with wrestling, and I know there's a lot of people out there on YouTube that talk about wrestling stuff, and it is a pretty popular thing. So just thought about making a video talking about it, and that's really all I have to say. It's just a thoughts video I wanted to make, just a talking head type of video, thoughts on WWE. That's really all I have to say in this video. That's why I can't really list any like certain matches I liked, because like I said, it's been so long since I looked into wrestling. This was one of those things I liked as a kid, and I remember being a cool thing. Like I said before, some of my favorites: Goldberg, The Ultimate Warrior, Stone Cold, The Rock, Mick Foley, Triple H when he had his long hair, Triple H with Shawn Michaels. The DX group was pretty cool. The black and the white guy and the old school wrestling, they were in a group together. I can't remember. They were pretty cool. I cannot remember what their name was. Kevin Nash, he was cool. Stone Cold, Goldberg, The Ultimate Warrior, Boogeyman, X-Pac, Vader, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, etc. Those are really good wrestlers, and yeah, some of my favorites. So that's really all I have to say in this video. Peace.